project list in total was approximately $11.5 billion. Think about what I said earlier, that the sales tax was estimated to generate just $2.5 billion. So the projects on the list would cost $11.5 billion with only $2.5 billion of money. So we knew it was going, that MARTA and the city were going to need to go through a very robust, transparent, and thorough community outreach process to really find out how we should strategically invest these limited dollars given the amount of projects that were on the project list. City Council, in addition to approving the project list, they did give us a set of guiding principles, just things they were looking for. I'm not going to read them all to you, but really focused on making sure that we were getting residents to and from major job centers. They were looking at, as much as possible, keeping the transit options out of traffic. Really prioritizing city investments and city-focused investments, balancing that with connections to more regional transit options, including partnering with neighboring jurisdictions to see if there were opportunities to tie into some of these regional connections. And then also very focused on making sure that the program had several different types of transit options available, and that when transferring from one transit option to another, that it was seamless and efficient. So MARTA and the city partnered through a series of public meetings throughout 2017 to review the $11.5 billion project list and to start figuring out which specific services or projects on the list should be prioritized to be funded as part of this program. It was really a three-pronged approach. We did a very robust technical study of all 70+ projects on the project list. We did multiple rounds of public outreach. And then we looked at how different projects connected to the regional transit system. And we came up with a recommended scenario based upon those three facets. The recommended scenario includes the backbone of it is a 21-mile light rail line that connects Southwest Atlanta with the Center for Disease Control and Emory University in Northeast Atlanta. It generally travels or starts or ends near Greenbrier Mall, and then travels northeast along Hamilton Road, and then up and connects to the Southwest Beltline area, and goes kind of back northwest along the Beltline, and then travels through the center of the city, connects with the downtown streetcar, and then continues out east to the east side Beltline, and then goes north on the Beltline to the Lindbergh MARTA station, and then heads back east towards Emory and the Center for Disease Control. A comprehensive map is actually located outside this room on the display board. The list also includes 4 bus rapid transit routes. Bus rapid transit is very much where it's high quality, very frequent bus service that's typically has different elements to keep it out of automobile traffic. That might be kind of signal prioritization. It can have its own lane, especially during peak hours. But the point is, the bus rapid transit is really designed in a way to where it can travel throughout urban areas as quickly as possible. There's a variety of other bus services, everything from high frequency, what we're calling arterial rapid transit routes, all the way down to community circulators that are proposed to be funded with this program as well. And then just a little bit about what we've done to date, because we have implemented a lot of exciting bus service throughout the city since the tax was passed in the fall of 16. Beginning in February of 2017, MARTA made service enhancements to over 40 bus routes throughout the city. What we heard consistently in our public outreach is that folks were very interested in more service during the middle of the day, more service at night, more service on the weekends. We heard from a lot of people that, I don't work 9 to 5, or I might work job 1 from 9 to 5, but I need transit options that are more readily available during kind of the non-peak hours. So MARTA made those improvements throughout 2017 to the bus system, and seen a lot of success stories as far as enhanced access to job centers. And without further ado, it looks like the PowerPoint presentation is all ready.
Use some technology here.
And with that, that concludes my presentation.
We have the beautiful graphics.
Well, I'm going to go over the map so you can visualize the program. I will kind of skip the beginning, but I do need a magic wand.
I got one. I know you do, but Frank will press the button.
Here we are. Okay. Right here?
Yeah, can you go back to the map, the first map, kind of the yellow line? Yeah.
There we are.
Okay, so the 21-mile light rail line I was referring to, you can see here in the southwest section of the city. I hope that the city outline comes up on your screen. But it's one 21-mile light rail line, and again connects Southwest Atlanta. One of MARTA's busiest bus routes, Route 83, travels on Hamilton Road, connects those residents to the city's largest employment center not connected by transit. So I mentioned at the beginning the city council guidance about connecting residents to job centers. What we offer here is the city's busiest bus route, one of its most transit-friendly and transit-reliant neighborhoods, and connecting them to the city's largest job center. But it doesn't end there. The Beltline has been in planning for several years. Transit was always the backbone of the Beltline project, and this program finally brings light rail to the Beltline. There are 7 miles of transit included on the Beltline, but of course it doesn't end there either. This program also takes the existing downtown streetcar and extends it both west and east to connect it to more job centers, residents, as well as educational and recreational opportunities throughout the center of the city. And then last but certainly not least, connects the MARTA heavy rail system to the Lindbergh, or to the Emory and Center for Disease Control area. So 21-mile light rail line. And then next slide, please, sir, if you would. I mentioned the bus transit routes. There are 4 proposed as part of the program. Northside Drive, North Avenue, and Hollowell Parkway, Capitol Avenue, as well as Campbellton Road. Next slide, sir. I also mentioned the frequent bus service called Arterial Rapid Transit. We're recommending 3 particular routes: Peachtree, Cleveland, and Metropolitan Parkway. These routes are really focused on connecting the existing MARTA system, again, to as many jobs and educational opportunities as possible. And then there's also frequent local bus service. I'm not going to go through the purple lines on the map, but what I will say is this. The goal of the bus service is to have a bus route available 7 days a week, anytime within 30 minutes, if you're inside the city. So that's the goal. We want to, residents are very interested in light rail, bus rapid transit, and all those fancy new transit options, but what they really want is reliable service as quickly as possible, so they can utilize that to improve their overall economic outlook and have increased mobility options. So, there's also a couple other things on the program list. There's 2 transit centers with all this added bus service. There will be a need to have a couple of neighborhood-based transit centers. There's one proposed up at Morris Mill, and then one at Greenbrier Mall. And then last but certainly not least, there is an opportunity to strategically invest in station improvements to the existing MARTA rail stations. All of the MARTA rail stations are highlighted on this map, and we received several inquiries and a ton of interest in enhancing the MARTA rail station. So what we're actually going to do is a whole separate community-based study where we take a look at the best way to invest in our transit stations, because we have to be as financially responsible as possible as well. So there's a series of maps coming here where, again, I talked about the guiding principles that were the foundation of the More and More program. What you see before here is a map of the program and its connections to the major high-density job centers throughout the city. I want to highlight a couple of items in particular. Number one, up Peachtree, you can see the high density of job centers on the north side, where that is well served by both the MARTA Red Line and the MARTA Gold Line, but this would bring a third high-quality transit option with the Peachtree Arterial Rapid Transit. And then the connection to the Emory University and the Center for Disease Control, you can see that out to the northeast as well. Next slide. Also critically important is the connection to hospitals and medical centers. You can see here the connections to those opportunities. And then grocery stores, heard a lot from folks about getting increased access to more healthy food options, as well as neighborhood grocery stores. Next slide. And schools and colleges, heard a lot about access to educational opportunities, and it wasn't just colleges, universities, and technical schools, but it was also schools in general. So program benefits, this More MARTA program provides substantially enhanced service to 126 neighborhoods throughout the city. It increases job access by 56%, and then 61% greater access to transit for communities with large minority or low-income populations. Those folks who need more transit today will have that with this program. Overall, it's going to be safe, reliable, convenient, with shorter travel times, have a variety of transportation options, and of course, last but not least, will substantially enhance service for seniors and those with disabilities who rely on MARTA on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to summarize the public input to date. We've been doing these activities since the middle of May. So far, what we're really focused on, I'm not going to read these all to you, but I can boil it down to, we are looking at a comprehensive and diverse array of outreach activities. We've gone to festivals, we've gone to the MARTA rail stations, We've gone to libraries, we've gone to the neighborhood planning unit meetings, we've done over 1,000 surveys already online, we've been on social media, we've been at stakeholder meetings. Coming up, we're looking to expand those activities, and really is going to be highlighted by 4 upcoming community-based forums throughout August, where we're looking to hold these in 4 different sections of the city to make sure that everyone has had an opportunity to be heard. These community forums, again, will provide an opportunity for those who haven't yet to come hear a public open house and chat with the project team to make sure that we get this right. We get one chance to get this program right, and so we want to make sure everyone has a chance to be heard. So we do have a project website. It's itsmarta.com/moremarta. On that website, there's a ton of information, just also general overview of the program as well as detailed technical information. But most importantly, there's a survey on there where if, you know, I know many of you are very active in this community. If there are opportunities to share the survey, please do. Also, back actually. Also, if you have any suggestions on any organizations you'd like us to brief, please let myself or Melanie Reynolds know, who's standing behind me. And then next steps. So we're looking at approving the program this fall. Then we're going to program the projects, which basically outlines the schedule of when these projects will be started and completed. And of course, tied to that will be a strategic financing plan. And then we're going to start with projects, both bus services, but also with some of the larger capital projects. But there's going to be a community outreach effort throughout this entire program. I don't know if I'll be doing it for 40 years, but there will be continuous community outreach. So with that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. So a couple of suggestions, recommendations, if you all have not already done them. The first is to make sure that, Melanie, where are you?
Here I am, right here.
Hey, how are you? Good to
Great.
finally meet you face to face. Have you all sent this flyer to all of the NPU chairs yet?
We have not. In fact, you all are the first group to receive this.
Okay, all right.
So, yes, we are gonna start sending them out early next week. So
Okay.
this is our first opportunity to get this in front of people.
Very good. And do you have the 2018 NPU chair contact list with their emails?
I do not.
Okay, I'll make sure you get that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, if we can receive this electronically, we'll start posting it like we've done you all's other activities in the past. You're welcome.
Certainly, certainly. And I just wanted to say that we have a couple of staff members in the lobby with some tablets if someone wants to take the survey now or before you leave.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, this time we have some delegates that want to ask some questions. Mr. Carr?
Thank you. Over the years, I've been a very strong proponent of MARTA and mass transit. MARTA's been in business for,
Excuse me, Mr. Miller, you may want to stand back up because you may have to go right back up to the mic.
maybe, I mentioned one. MARTA's been in business for more than 40 years. Actually, MARTA's been in business for well over 100 years when it used to be owned by Georgia Power Company. There's one particular project, and I don't want to micromanage this, but it's probably the shortest project, but it's probably going to be by far the most expensive. And I need to tell our television audience about this. And this is the Clifton Corridor. For over 40 years, Emory, with all that Woodruff, billions of Woodruff dollars, and of course CDC and the government, every time a piece of property came up for sale, they could have bought this property because they knew MARTA was coming for 40 years. And they didn't do it. They didn't do any purchase. And now, us taxpayers are going to have to pay them, the wealthy people, for buying this property where they didn't buy it before. This is for you, Ben. I want to be part of my,
Let the public know that you're giving them.
what?
Let the public know that you're giving them.
It's another slogan for MARTA.
Yes, it is TV, television friendly slogan. The postcard originally said "Ready for more,"
Yeah.
and the suggested slogan was "More MARTA is SMARTA." So,
That's Mo, M-O.
yeah, Mo MARTA.
Okay, move
So, Cookton Corridor, light rail is expensive. It's getting more expensive throughout the country. There's an incredible shortage of labor, and the cost of materials is challenging. So all of the light rail project, all 21 miles, the costs are rapidly rising. But we do have an opportunity to leverage this local money to really build out as much as the light rail line as possible. The connection to the Cookton Corridor does provide rail access to the city and the region's largest job center that doesn't have rail access today. I am not familiar with the inner workings of Emory University or any other stakeholders' real estate holdings, but definitely as part of the project, MARTA is going to have to work with the city and other partners to acquire real estate for all 21 miles of the light rail line. And we will have more details on the real estate holdings throughout the project planning and engineering process. So that's, hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds.
Good morning, my name is Ola Reynolds, NPUG chairperson. Great presentation, Mr. Limmer. But at that time, I did meet Melanie because she and some of the others, Louis Rosario, came to our executive meeting. And we had a question at that time about the Moores Mill Transit Center, because we did ask, where are you going to put this transit center at Moores Mill, with all of the development that's going on? And also my question is, have you established where you're going to put the center at Greenbrier Mall?
Excellent question.
Yeah.
So we have not initiated any project definition or basically planning work at this time on either transit center. So we are not sure of the exact location. We will be looking for as many opportunities that are available in the vicinity of those two transit centers, but we are not tied to any particular one site or even a one solution at this point. But during the project planning process, we will be looking at site options. And of course, again, I can't stress, we will be doing community engagement at various levels and reaching out to stakeholders and businesses to partner with and identify a community-based solution and location for each of those transit centers.
Mr. Howard.
Thank you very much, Ben Howard, NPUR. Could you, when you come to NPUR, say, and even right now, say a little bit more about how things will operate at Greenbrier Mall and just where there's space to be made, if it has not already been made? Do we have those details yet?
Of the transit center?
Yeah, at Greenbrier.
Not yet.
Okay, good. But that, the two locations, Greenbrier and what's the other one?
Mooresville.
And Mooresville. Thank you.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. With the new city of South Fulton, and the other cities that are, and counties that are close by to Florida, I know this is a Atlanta presentation, but you really can't do that in a vacuum. Can you attach some of the connections to, let's say, Southwest Cascade area and the city of South Fulton plus the city of Atlanta, Cobb County going up, which would, I guess, be a part of the Moore's Mill project. And I know they haven't been elected to join Marta in that aspect or be an active partner. And also the other parts of the CAB that are not parts of the city of Atlanta that are all contiguous to the city of Atlanta. Can you expound on that, please? Because it's very important to me in particular on the.
Absolutely. Excellent question. As part of the guiding principles that we worked with City Council on, two of them were addressing those points exactly or precisely. Number one is making sure that we were connected.
Good morning, may I have your attention, please? We will be conducting a test of the fire alarm system. Please disregard any alarms. In the event of an actual emergency, you will be contacted and given instructions. May I have your attention, please? This morning, we will be conducting a test of the fire alarm system. Please disregard all alarms. In the event of an actual emergency, you will be given instructions. Thank you.
At this time, they're getting ready to do some, I think they're gonna do some additional delays like before earlier, so just in case you were not here earlier, from time to time, we'll have an interruption of some fire drills. We do not have to go outside there yet, so we'll pause right now, okay?
An emergency has been reported in this building. Please.
I will use my outside voice then.
Thank you.
With connections to other cities, those are critically important, so we're looking at all sides. Connections to Sandy Springs on the north, DeKalb County to the east, and some of those bus connections, as well as the west and south side of the city. In particular, the Cascade, that bus route is also one of our more successful bus routes in the water system. So we are going to work with the neighboring jurisdictions on enhancing that particular access and connection to those bus routes, in particular Route 71 or Route 83 in the south and southwest side of the city. And then specific to Fulton County, last year MARTA partnered with the Atlanta Regional Commission, Fulton County, as well as the cities throughout the county on a comprehensive transit plan. That comprehensive transit plan was really focused on two projects. One was a bus rapid transit up Georgia 400 in North Fulton. That was their signature project that they prioritized. And then the signature project in South Fulton was actually a bus rapid transit along South Fulton Parkway, going right through the new city of South Fulton. That bus rapid transit would connect in at the East Point Water Station. So on top of that, we are looking at a variety of other bus connections in South Fulton. Fulton Industrial Boulevard is also an emerging employment corridor as well. So we are working with the county, identifying the transit services that are needed throughout the county that's outside the city, making sure that those services are connected and consistent with the MARTA Atlanta projects, and they can potentially go to a vote as early as next spring on a 0.2 sales tax referendum to expand bus service throughout North and South Fulton County. So I hope that answers your question specific to the regional connections. I can talk more about DeKalb County, but they have just launched their county-based transit study just earlier this summer. So.
Okay, thank you. When you come to NPUQ, will you have that included in your presentation, specifically the South Fulton, because that is contiguous to us and very important in terms of what we would need to hear.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then the second question I have, if there's nobody else, I'll yield if there's somebody else and then go back to Q. If there's nobody else. Okay. The second question is, the light rail, as I understand it, that is basically a streetcar. Is that correct?
No, light rail and streetcar are very, very similar. They're both use obviously train cars that are powered by an overhead wire. Our streetcar system downtown, the vehicle is actually a light rail vehicle that's been modified or shortened to make it so it's able to take some of those tight turns that it does downtown. The primary difference between streetcar and light rail is light rail typically operates in its own guideway or own lane and is not mixed in with vehicle traffic. It can travel either in its own dedicated right-of-way that's separate from the city street, or it can have a dedicated right-of-way within a city street where only the light rail line can use that lane. So that's the primary difference. The city council was really focused on keeping the future transit options out of the vehicle traffic. I think they recognize some of the challenges with the operations of the Atlanta streetcar. So as the streetcar system is built out, we will actually be looking for opportunities to enhance the overall travel time of that system by giving it its own travel lane as it is expanded. It'll be fairly straightforward on sections of the Beltline as well as the Clifton piece, but where it's traveling to city streets, we're gonna have to reach out to the neighborhoods and work with the city on opportunities to provide the streetcar turned light rail to really have opportunities to have its own lane, so.
I have one follow-up and then I'll be finished. Even though I have more questions, I'll talk
Is it
outside.
quick?
It is, it's very quick. In terms of identifying the property, especially going through Campbellton Road, the Greenbrier area, and also heading all the way through downtown on the light rail, that is a very built-out area. Would there be eminent domain to businesses? Are you anticipating that? Or how are you going to do that? Because there's no room unless you either take the existing roadway or get businesses to sell their business or their property or eminent domain. Can you?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the first critical step is to work with the community to find out what their vision is for not only the city streets. You know, do they want on-street parking, or do they want more turn lane access? Do they want a bicycle lane? Do they want wider sidewalks and street trees and those types of things? And once we find out the vision for that overall streetscape, working, of course, in partnership with the city staff, they would actually lead that particular effort. Then we would find out what some of the trade-offs are. Are you willing to sacrifice a travel lane for a light rail lane? Are you willing to sacrifice maybe on-street parking so you can have a bicycle lane? Are you willing to sacrifice other particular elements? Because we're going to have, you know, lack of a better term, 20 pounds of stuff trying to fit in a 10-pound bag. But as far as working with property owners, we will look for community-friendly opportunities to make sure that there's a strong synergy between what's ever up on the curbs and our particular transportation project. We will obviously look to provide the most efficient construction processes possible. We will be looking again for existing real estate opportunities. Eminent domain is not one of those favorable things, so that's not something that we're going into this thing looking to do. It does happen during light rail construction projects from time to time, but again, that's going to be a community-based conversation to find out what their vision is for that corridor as a whole.
Just a quick follow-up. As I understand it, there's already a comprehensive plan that was done not too long ago for transportation by the city of Atlanta. And it does address some of the issues. Has Marty not received that and looked at that and been able to identify without reinventing the wheel, at least preliminarily?
Sure. Yeah, we actually partner with the city, not only on their Connect Atlanta plan, which was a previous transportation plan. There was actually a transit component tied to that that was adopted by City Council in 2015. That was really the backbone for the project list. But then as the city moved forward with their most recent transportation plan, we were working in concert with the city planning staff led by Commissioner Tim King to make sure that the broader vision for the future's growth, for the future of the city was tied to this more modern program. It was actually a slide that I ended up skipping at the beginning, but we did partner to make sure that the city's vision was guiding us as we built this proposed program. So.
Thank you so much.
I did want to make one quick clarification that my colleague reminded me of, in particular to the transit centers in Greenbrier Mall. There is an LCI planning initiative, and so that would be an excellent conduit and partnership opportunity for MARTA to work through that program to identify what the future vision is for a neighborhood-based transit center serving those neighborhoods in Southwest Atlanta. So just wanted a clarifying statement, but
What's
thank
the
you.
LCI?
It's called the Livable Communities Initiative, and that's administered by the Atlanta Regional Commission. So,
Thank you so much.
thank you for your
Really
time.
appreciate you all coming in. I will be in touch with you all about partnering with us with the Citizens Engagement Community Day.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
You're welcome. Also, you all's PowerPoint, I know that it was so big that, you couldn't get it to me via email. So what I am going to do is we need to see,
I can send it to you, I'll find a way.
yeah, because what I'm gonna do is create a link in Box, because when we do our highlights in our e-newsletter, I'll include that link.
I'll make it a PDF file, so that'll
Okay.
work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. You all enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you.
Um,
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. So I've kind of looked at the count, and we have 12, we need one more delegate to show up. So we will continue with our presentations. This is the day she would come forward, Invest Atlanta. She also has passed out a flyer of information, as well as there's some extras on the counter on the inside, as well as on the outside of the table. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Sade. I'm the Community Affairs and Strategic Initiatives person for Invest Atlanta. And this is my first APAB meeting, so I'm very excited to be here. We had an open house for MPU officers a couple of months ago. And one of the things that came out of that was that we would try to communicate with you all more regularly about our work, so that's why I'm here today. And then another thing that came out of that meeting was you all asked us to document our community engagement process. So the flyer that I brought today is just a one-pager that on one side explains how we engage the community in our project approval process. And then on the other side is about our meeting schedule and, when our meetings happen and how you can get information about them. So I'm gonna make this presentation as quickly as I can so that we have time for questions, but it's just an update of what we presented a couple of months ago. Okay. So you all know we are the economic development arm for the city of Atlanta, and our vision is to make Atlanta the most economically competitive and dynamic city in the world. Oh, go ahead. So this is why we do what we do. We want to create jobs, we want to bring more investment to the city, we want to improve the quality of life for our residents, we want to expand our tax base, and we want to make our neighborhoods better. So these are updated numbers from when we last made this presentation to you all. So far, 2018, we've created and retained a little over 2,000 jobs. We've made $213 million in investments. We've approved 8 small business loans that in total are $1.2 million. We've helped 67 people buy a home in the city, and we have created and retained about 375 units of affordable housing. So this just shows our organizational structure. Invest Atlanta has 2 sides. One is economic development, and one is community development. So I'll talk about our economic development department first. So one of the big things that our economic development department does is recruit companies to Atlanta and help the ones that are already here grow. So this just shows some of the companies that we brought to Atlanta over the years. We have 2 new companies that we've added to this chart for 2018. You all probably already knew about PSA, which a lot of people know is Peugeot, and then Income brought, I think, about 150 jobs with them. Pandora brought about 250 jobs. So one of our newer parts of our economic development department is our innovation work. And these are just a few things that are innovation and entrepreneurship, what we're doing in that area. And we have 2 focuses. One is the tech industry, which is booming in Atlanta now, and the other is to build the ecosystem for startups in general. So one partnership that we have with Smart ATL. Smart ATL is an initiative of the City of Atlanta to improve livability in the city through innovation. We are partnering with them to invest in the North Avenue Smart Corridor, which brought technology to the traffic lights so that they can adjust in real time when something happens, like an accident or something else. Another initiative that we have is the Atlanta International Startup Exchange. This is basically like your college or high school exchange program, except it's for startups. So they are selected and they meet for a week in Toulouse, France, and they get a lot of exposure on a global platform. So this program is ideal for companies that want to expand globally. And we're actually currently taking applications for that program until August 5th. So if you know of any startups that are interested in expanding beyond the States, they would be a good candidate for this. And then Students to Startups is an internship program that we launched, and the idea of that is to strengthen our pipeline of talent locally, and also to support startups who a lot of times can't afford to hire staff. So we are helping offset the cost of that. I think we provide 2/3 of the cost of the these are paid internships for the summer. I think we pay 2/3 of it and the startup pays 1/3. We are currently in our first run of the program, so the interns are doing their internships, and hopefully it'll go well and we'll expand it from there. iVillage at MLK is a really innovative new project that we have at the H.E. Homes MARTA station. You guys have probably heard about it. It was partly funded by a $10 million grant that the city got from the Federal Department of Transportation. It's gonna bring small businesses to the MARTA station by providing affordable retail space. So these are shipping containers that we are outfitting to be retail stores for office and food vendors. And the idea is to help bring new amenities to the area, because as you all know, if you are already taking transit, then you're likely to spend some money while you're doing it. And it'll also provide affordable retail space for our small businesses. I talked about this at an NPU meeting this week, I think it was NPUI, and there were a couple of people that asked about, what about a larger transit-oriented development project, like, you know, a mixed-use building with commercial space and housing. So one of the great things about this project is that it's what we call an interim use, it's temporary, shipping containers can be moved. So if a developer comes along and wants to build housing or commercial at this particular station, then we'll still be able to do that in the future. Another new initiative we have, actually so new it actually hasn't been rolled out yet, but hopefully soon, is the Creative Industries Loan Fund. This fund is to support our artists and creatives that bring original content to the city. It is structured to provide $50,000 to $50,000 for all of these uses that are listed on the left-hand side. And then particularly if you are applying for funding for touring or festival, you can get up to $100,000. Relatively short loan term, 3 to 5 years, but it's a flexible program, so we can work with the applicants if that does or doesn't work for them. And the interest rates are very low, 3 to 5%. This is just an overview of our small business loan program over the last 7 years. Shows you how much we've loaned every year. These are just some of the small businesses that we've helped grow and start in Atlanta. Altogether, so one thing that people may not know about Invest Atlanta is we actually provide more services than fund businesses in general. We provide site location services, consultations to help small businesses grow. So in the last 7 years, we've done that for over 6,000 small businesses, and our total investments for small businesses are $23.5 million. So this is another new initiative. The Jump Fund is a fund that is actually based in Chattanooga. Their vision is to make the Southeast the best place in the country that a woman can start and grow her business. So we are partnering with them to support women-owned enterprises in the city of Atlanta. Our affiliate, AMI, which is Atlanta Emerging Markets Initiative, I think, provided seed funding for the Jump Fund's second round of funding small businesses with $250,000. So all of that money will go to small businesses in the city of Atlanta, but this partnership will also allow women who are starting businesses here to apply for more because their goal is to raise $5.2 million. Okay, so now I'll talk about our community development department. So one of the main things that our community development department does is provide incentives for developers to provide or infuse their developments with affordable housing. We have 4 different funds. Vine City Trust Fund, which is specifically for the neighborhoods of English Avenue and Vine City. It was created back when the Georgia Dome was built in '89, I think. The Housing Opportunity Bond was a bond that the City Council passed last year, and that helps finance both rental properties and home ownership or single-family properties. And it's, what was I gonna say? Oh, it's both multifamily, single-family. And then the Beltline Affordable Housing Trust Fund is obviously for neighborhoods that are along the Beltline. All of these programs are similar in terms of their terms. I think they all will offer second mortgage loans. They all have low interest rates. And I think some of them can fund up to 50% of the project, which is a great benefit for developers. So these are just, so another thing that our community development department does is manage the city's tax allocation districts. We have 10 TADs in the city, 7 of them are currently active. And these are some of the projects that are coming down the pipeline or have recently either broken ground or opened with TAD funding. Adair Court is in Adair Park. This project is exciting because it's 100% affordable and it's also on the Beltline or very close to the Beltline. 91 units of senior housing at or below 50% of the area median income. Hagar is in English Avenue, that's a smaller multifamily project, 20 units at or below 50% of the area median income. And Hamilton Hall House is a bed and breakfast in Sweet Auburn. And that was a small project, $250,000. This is just an overview of affordable housing. So over the last 7 years, 60% of our funding for affordable housing has gone to affordable units, 40% has gone to market rate units, and in total that's about 8,300 altogether, and almost 5,000 of those are affordable. And then these are just more examples of other financing tools that we have for affordable housing. So tax exempt bonds, one project that recently opened is City Lights, which is in Old Fourth Ward. 96 units at 60% AMI. The Remington in Miss Reynolds, NPU, opened recently. I think it's 160 units altogether. 18 of them are at 50% AMI and the rest of them are at 60. Sand Oaks is in Peoplestown, and Peachtree Center is downtown. Peachtree Center is a lease purchase bond. That's a really big project, 345 units, and 70 of them will be at 80% AMI. So another thing that our department does is we have strategic initiatives. Right now, our strategic initiatives are really focused on making sure that people that are renting the city can afford to stay here as the city grows and develops. So our Community Builders Program is a new strategic initiative that's teaching residents how to redevelop properties in their neighborhood. We launched it in on the west side, and it is a 6-month training program, and then after the training is completed, those that complete the training successfully are eligible to get pre-development grants and technical assistance and gap financing to get their projects off the ground. And then our community development department runs all of our home ownership programs. We have 6 wonderful home ownership programs. All of them have different terms and requirements, but all of them provide down payment assistance and closing cost assistance, which a lot of times is the barrier for someone who's trying to buy a home. And right now, we have a special initiative under our renovation program, which typically provides $10,000 in down payment if you want to buy a fixer-upper and fix it up yourself. But right now, in these particular neighborhoods, Pittsburgh, Vine City, Grove Park, Oakland City, Ashview, and English Avenue, we're providing $15,000 in down payment. Oh, one more slide. You all know about our owner-occupied rehab program, which is another strategic initiative that is helping our seniors age in place by helping them fix up their home. We had a large number of applications, which speaks to all of you and our city council representatives. I think we had 806 applications total. And so because of that, we have increased the pool of funds. It was originally $5 million. We added $2 million to it, so now it's $7 million. I wanted to let you all know that our program managers have started going through the applications, but in some of our council districts, the volume is so high that it may take them a while to get back to people that applied. So if you all can let your constituents know that they will get a letter either way. It may just take a little bit of time. We are prioritizing seniors that are veterans or disabled. And the first cohort of homes that have been approved, those rehabs will begin next week or August 1st, whatever that is. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Presentation. Wow. You were so good that you don't have any comments, questions, or anything. Oh, okay, here they come.
Quit running so fast.
Well, it's me. Alderman Reynolds, NPUG. Thank you for a beautiful presentation. Thank you for mentioning about the Remington. It is a great, great product within our community. With the project that is at the Hamilton Homes, Has this started yet, or?
So,
You gotta get to the mic.
oh, I'm sorry.
To the mic, thank
So
you.
what we're doing currently is going through the tenants that have, or the applicants that apply to be tenants. I think by November, we will, what did we say? By November, we'll announce who the no. Sometime between November and the end of the year, it's supposed to open. I think in the next few weeks, we're gonna announce who the tenants are gonna be.
Okay, thank you. Also, I reached out to, by the Atlanta, what is Heritage for the homeowners, and they are going to begin, I believe, on her home beginning of August, so it is around August. So she was one of those 25, because as you stated, was a lot of, I received a letter, so I was able to reach out to her. So that is a great program, and it's good that you all added more money.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Your programs are headed or directed towards one and two people at a time. To get a house or to rehab a house. I'd like for you to strongly consider the other side of the coin. That is the developer side. I wish we would have a developer's program for affordable housing. You can find out where the edges of the envelope are, the nuances, the programs, the availability of funds, and any other amenities. And that way, we can fight against this mindset of market rate, market rate, market rate, market rate. Where's the affordable housing? The Beltline is still at 14% of their projected 5,600. But they pulled a fast one a couple of months ago. They jumped from 14 to 27% because they just increased the geographic area, going from the tax allocation district to the entire zoning overlay, which is a half mile on each side of the Beltline. I got a comment to that. What I'm really concerned about is a developers seminar. Should be going on every month. Invite all of the NPUs and their zoning committees to these developer seminars. I'll be glad to give you my contact information so that we can push this, make it happen. You got a snappy comeback?
No.
Mr. Howard?
Thank you, Madam President. Ben Howard, Senior Advocate, member of NPUR. It appears that 50% of the AMI area median income is the new norm. Was there any discussion at all about 30% AMI? I hear 50% most of the time. In the Peachtree, we've gone up to 70% for 1/4 of the 80%. Ooh. Was there any discussion about 30% AMI?
So we do have developments that we incentivize that get to that AMI level, but it's really hard. So 30% of AMI is $25,000, I think. The AMI right now is 75,000. But yes, the Vine City Trust Fund in particular, because it has a lot more patient capital and flexibility, has definitely financed projects at that income level. Most of them are rental, not home ownership, because it's really hard to help to get someone that makes $25,000 to own a home. But we've done that by layering incentives from other programs, partnering with HUD and AHA, so
Great.
yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Toomer?
Thank you for your presentation, it was very comprehensive.
Oh, thank you.
However, I'm not sure that I understood the iVillage at the Holmes Mortar Station, the containers specifically. Did you say that the businesses were going to operate out of modular containers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what does that aesthetically look like in terms of appeal?
Well, I wish I had pictures of them, because I think when people think of shipping container, they think literally of the thing that you see on the, on the railroad, but they're I guess, readapted. They have new exteriors, so, I think they look really cool, but they're all different kinds. I don't know exactly what kind is gonna be in this project. But that's probably something I could find out and send to you.
Externally, does it look like deco art or?
Externally, I think it looks like an ultra-modern store that's sort of a box with, it's very, yeah.
And does that fit the current look of the neighborhood? Or is it intrusive to the neighborhood? And-
I guess that's, you know, subjective. But I think that's partly why this is an interim use, so. Oh, okay, there we go. So here's some,
Okay, very good.
You wouldn't think that's what it is, but it is.
Mr. Eric, I want to help answer that question, because our architect in the back row is not going to be here, who's certainly more of an authority on visual than I am. You can put on the outside of a shipping container anything you want. You can make it look like a house that was built in 1850. You can add a peaked roof to it.
Okay.
Just because it looks today like a shipping container.
Steve, I don't mean to cut you off, but my questions were for her, so I could follow up with things just like you're saying, my understanding of how you can identify that. And for the next part of my question to her would have been, can you make it more amenable to the community and what's there as opposed to being more obtrusive or...
The answer to your question is an emphatic
I'm not
yes.
asking you, Steve.
I
I'm
feel
not
it's
asking you,
shipping
Steve. I'm asking the professional who is presenting, who has the authority. You do not. Thank you.
so I know that the team that is leading this project had a number of meetings with the NPU, the neighborhood associations, and the merchants associations. So I'm assuming that at least those entities are in support of the design, but I'm more than happy to send you all some renderings that show you what it's gonna look like, and you can, we can have a follow-up conversation about that.
Sounds good, thank you so much. I believe we have a quorum. I'm going to call the roll, just to make sure. If you can just, when I call your name, just raise your hand, please. Thank you. NPU A, no representative. NPU B, Richard Rao.
Here.
John Muzzy. NPU C, no delegate. Alternate, Zach Goober. NPU D, Jim Martin. Michelle Moore. NPU E, James Snyder. Brian Harris. NPU F, Debbie Skrzynski. No representative as alternate. NPU G, Ola Reynolds. Keith alternate. MPU H, Barbara Hubbard, alternate. Charles Shelton. MPU I, Jennifer Freeman, present. Eunice Glover, present. MPU J, Al Bartel. Benjamin Dickerson, alternate. MPU K, Chad Smith. Lydia Hardman, alternate. MPU L, Bob Jones, Maurice White, alternate. MPU M, Michelle Schreiner, and Rashid Muhammad.
Here.
NPU N, Amy Stout, Catherine Wooling. MPU O, Carl Holt, Marcus Owens. NPU P, Rasheen Hunter, Hope Hoffman. MPU Q, David Getachew Smith, Eric Toomer.
Present.
MPU R, Alfred White.
Here.
Harold Hartnett, alternate. MPU S, Chris Brown. Nick Hess, alternate. MPU T, Terry Ross,
alternate Donovan Dobbs. MPUV, Columbus Ward. Stephanie Flowers. MPUW, Jack Grungler, Steve Carr. MPUX, Michael Hopkins.
Here.
Ruben Burney, alternate. MPUY, Dana Scott.
Here.
Chris McCord, alternate.
Madam Chair, Gloria Hawkins.
Hold on one moment. Hold on one moment. Okay. Hold on. MPUZ, Ann Phillips. Serena's Grant. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I am now. Good morning, Madam Chair. I am now the designated alternate for MPUY, replacing Chris McCord. I made that known last month. I'm not sure if he has submitted the necessary paperwork.
Which MPU?
Why, Madam?
And what's your name?
Gloria. Last name is hyphenated Hawkins dash WYNN.
Okay, I will ask, who's you all's chair?
Mr. McCord, who's currently listed as the designated.
Okay, he will have to send us that in writing.
I believe he has.
He did?
As of January, I think he did. But no worries, we can resend and or do whatever is
You know who
necessary.
sent it to? Did you send it to APAB Atlanta, did you send it to planning? Got it, and your email?
G is in Gloria, H is in Hopkins.
Let me do this. Send your information to apabatlanta@gmail.com.
I will.
Your email and your telephone number and your address, okay?
In addition to the letter correspondence
Yes,
required
ma'am.
by Mr. McCord.
Yeah, and I'll speak to Mr. McCord directly.
Very good.
Thank you, good to see you.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Hawkins, when,
Yes, sir.
is it possible at the next meeting, if she were to attend, that she could have a hard copy of that letter, just in case electronically something did not go correct? Would that be acceptable?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum, exactly 13. At this point, we're going to go back up to the agenda so we can go ahead and, we can get a motion to approve today's agenda. Can we get a motion to approve today's agenda?
Madam Chair, so moved.
Okay, it's so moved and it's been properly seconded that we approve today's agenda. All in favor by raise of hands? Okay, Ms. Phillips is counting. I have 14. Recount.
So it's 13.
She's voting and you're voting.
Okay, all right, so it's 13.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna say any abstentions or any opposed because there are 13 delegates, so that, that motion passes. Put 13 here. We do not have minutes from our last month's meeting. I have expressed, to both Mr. Toomer and Mr. Mohammed to do what we can to get those, even if you have to look at the YouTube video or the actually video online on our Facebook page, but go ahead and let's get those together. We do have meeting highlights from last month's meeting, and hopefully everyone saw those via our e-newsletter. It was in a couple of weeks ago, and it was pretty extensive. It actually was a special edition because we had quite a bit of information, including some really good news from MPU J and G about a energy summit that I think was an environmental summit, Ms. Reynolds? Yes, it was well attended, and there were some really great things that came out of it. I want to encourage the delegates, alternates, as well as our partners to read the e-newsletter because it does have some really good information in it. It's also been posted on our Facebook page as well as Twitter. And we are working diligently to make sure we consistently provide that e-newsletter to you all. If you have not received it and would like to via electronically, you can go to apabatlanta.org where there's a landing page, you can sign up for the e-newsletter.
Madam Chair, as a point of clarification,
Yes.
I do not believe that it is my responsibility to provide the minutes, only to receive them in your stead, and that the acting or the secretary, recording secretary, presents the minutes. It is not my obligation to produce the minutes. I am amenable to helping in producing them, but it is not my responsibility for the matter of record.
You're absolutely correct. So I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Toomer. We are getting ready to have our elections in, whenever they are, November, I believe. And let's remind delegates that the importance of what position you want to run for and the duty and the responsibility. We have had some lately consistencies where our recording secretary and our correspondence secretary is out, like today, and last month as well. And so when that happens, then I don't want to say that it's a burden. However, what it does is it shifts the responsibility on other officers to be able to come up with those notes and minutes. And to Mr. Toomer's point, it's not my responsibility as the president either.
Right.
And so I think that once we move forward in the voting process, that we really take a look at the records of our residents who want to serve as officers, that there are duties and responsibilities, which include minutes to meetings, attending the executive committee meetings, attending our general meetings, and also all of the programming and the training that we do, helping to execute the vision and the mission of APAB excellently. Moving forward, we're not approving any minutes since we don't have any, so we're going to go to board reports. Okay, Mr. Carr, is this pertaining to board reports?
Well, it was, I assumed it was going to be committee reports first.
Look at your agenda.
Yeah.
We switched it out. We now have the board reports first, committee reports at the end.
I would encourage you to be switching.
Mr. Carr, and when you get to that point, I will let you probably going to be very disappointed with what I'm going to say, but it's all good. If we could have Ms. Bush, she can come forward to give an update on the Code Enforcement Commission report. She has provided a hard copy. Hopefully everyone has one. Front and back report. Thank you. Good to see you.
Good morning. I provided the hard copies in the chairs up front because I thought the delegates would sit up there, so that's where they are.
You mean the executive officers?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
The MPU chairs. Anyway, the Code Enforcement Commission has not met for a couple of months because they're realigning some of their agendas and everything. But we did meet on July 12th, and I apologize for putting that date on the report. But the meeting, of course, you can read, was called to order by council members Joyce Shepherd. And in the agenda, you will see new appointees. One in particular is Mr. Larry Castleberry, who is the environmental compliance specialist. I know that in my NPU, we have problems with illegal dumping of tires. And there is a fund, I'm sure all of you have bought tires before, and you know that you are charged a disposal fee when you buy new tires. Mr. Castleberry provided some information regarding this because there are only 37 registered used tire dealers in the city of Atlanta. So they are going to review and they'll have to really go out and count the number of companies or businesses that deal in used tires, because obviously as large as Atlanta's population is and businesses, we're probably missing some dealers. So, Councilmember Shepherd, this is not in the minutes, advised us to check with our city council representative regarding this issue, because this involves a lot of money. And if the city has to go and pick up the tires, then the city has to pay for the disposal. So, it's a budgetary, issue. Well, yes. Other updates included the, code enforcement, procedure. Citizens can now use Atlanta 311 to report code violations. And that 311 and the Click Fix app will be going mobile. In the compliance resolution activity report, I do have the chart, but I just listed the summary, and I will email the chart to the MPU chairs and delegates so that you may share it with your code enforcement person with your MPU. The chart is outlined by demolition and secured and so forth properties. So you can see if there are properties within your MPU that have been scheduled for demolition or security. As you can see, 77 demolition projects were completed, 17 demolition projects awarded to city contractors, and so forth. I'll just skip around to some of them. 13 were cleaned and closed, contracts executed for challenging projects, which those challenging projects are defined as commercial, multifamily dwellings, etc. Public Works, Commissioner Johnson mentioned, how many of you know that we have a change in our solid waste pickup days? And I know if you missed your day, Commissioner Johnson stated that you just call 311 and they will come out on solid waste and they will come out and pick it up. So we'll get used to it. You can check your pickup date on the Public Works site, on the City of Atlanta site. The Mayor's Office for Civil and Code Processes presented a report with best practices. They are looking at redoing how code enforcement is handled in terms of compliance and bringing people to court. So you can see that on the back. I only have 3 minutes. So you can read that on the back. They have done a comparison of 4 cities nationwide: Dallas, New Orleans, Memphis, and Detroit. And they looked at 4 counties in Georgia: Fulton, Clayton, Cobb, and DeKalb. And you can see the proposed pilot civil hearing process. There was some discussion to have a conversation with the judges in code enforcement. So that is still in process. The municipal court report was given by Maria Hunter, and as you know, City of Atlanta experienced a cyber attack, so there are cases that have been reset. And the city solicitor's office report given by Ms. Erica Smith mentioned, of course, the scrap tire ordinance training, and the fire department and corrections had a report. In all business, the Fight Against Blight Committee workshop, was suggested to have several commission members volunteer to serve. They have a $1.5 million budget for code enforcement demolitions. And under marketing, $10,000 was allocated for reprinting the code enforcement booklet. The next meeting is August 23rd, 2018.
Very good, thank you so much. Could you send me your, thank you. No,
I have to
share it. Yes, Mr. Toomer.
Ms. Bush, just as a note, I'd like to make an announcement for anyone that doesn't know that every third Saturday of the month, they have a recycle project at Greenbrier Mall where they're taking tires, they'll shred, computer, and things like that. Just as a note, just wanted to make that announcement. There is no cost, and it runs from, I believe it is 9 o'clock to 12, yes.
Yeah, they do it at West End too.
Okay, so that's another place.
Yeah.
All right, then I have a question more. I'm going to ask you to possibly intercede on NPUQ's behalf. We have had several complaints that some of them go back years. And every time the officer reports, there is always some reason. In one instance, they said the property was in the probate court trying to determine who was the owner. Well, it just so happens that the probate judge was in the meeting. She looked it up and there was nothing there in the probate court. Then we have excuses, well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say excuses. We have rationale that the computers went down. That we know was true because of the cyber attack. But we're still in that volume. Can you possibly get somebody to give us a standing on everything that is in NPUQ that is still outstanding and where it stands? Because we cannot get it from our code enforcement officer.
I can ask Major Hobbs and solicitor in the solicitor's office, Ms. Smith, with that, because that is an issue for, I guess it's a citywide issue too, because in NPUT, there are other issues that have been mentioned regarding having the cases reset, and they, supposedly the code enforcement is fully staffed, but this is a personal opinion. I think they still do not have enough staff for the city and for the violations that are happening.
I'm not sure that that is the essence of the problem. Maybe they need to look at structuring the leadership such that they hold people accountable for what's supposed to happen and what they're supposed to be doing at the NPU meetings and come prepared to report. For instance, one time the code enforcement officer told us that the property wasn't in the city of Atlanta and everything else around it is. So this piece of property was an island that belonged to somebody else. But anyhow, those are the kind of things that we're getting, and it's just, I think maybe that they're used to being able to just tell the public anything, and that's what they're doing, but they need to be held accountable by their management team, and that it needs to start at their management team, my opinion.
Yeah, well, I understand your frustration with that, because one of the reasons for the Mayor's Office of Innovation research on these four cities and counties is to revamp how code enforcement is handled when they have cases, because does the person have to appear? The person doesn't appear, and they, you send out mailings and Do you know if they received it, and so forth? So they're looking at the process of revamping. If the person does not have to appear and they are fined and a lien is put on the property. This is not a law or an ordinance yet, but these are some of the things that they are investigating in terms of punitive citations for people who are, especially the LLCs. You have a lot of LLCs and you know, that's a layer, another layer of that in prosecuting someone for a violation. So I think if, personally, this is my opinion, if they put a lien on the property, then, you know, that's like, you pay this before, you know, if you sell it, this is, you have to pay this to remove it, so.
20 years.
Yeah.
I just have one quick statement for you. I've taken a good look at what actually goes on in NPUC as it relates to code violations and the continuances that the courts grant them. Majority of my problems come from absentee owners who are what you call shadow businesses that do not exist in the state of Georgia.
Right.
So essentially, my question to you is, when you all, I know you've only had one meeting, but will you be discussing new legislation? Is this what the Code Commission is for, to come up with new legislation for handling these code complaints? Because essentially what's happening is, for instance, there's a house next door to me, both sides are empty. The one guy has gone, as far as the records are concerned, still show him as being the owner. It does not show that the company had foreclosed on the property. And so consequently, Fulton County's records are not correct. And when you try to get information on individual pieces of property so you can contact the owners, you physically have to go down there and do your own research to do the backtracking. The problem is both Fulton County and the city of Atlanta needs to get together and draft better legislation as to, number one, how these cases are going to be handled, how many continuances are allowable, and they need to get with the Secretary of State's office so that when an absentee, any business, not even an absentee business, registers with the state of Georgia, there's a question on their form, on the forms that, do you own property in the state of Georgia? You have to list each piece of property, and you have to show to the Secretary of State who is paying the taxes on those properties. That gives you a check and balance from all three agencies so that we can eliminate the blight in our communities. And so the whole question here is, when you go back to the commission, please ask them for me, are you planning to, is all of this to come up with better legislation?
Yes, they're looking at the process. I didn't want, we only have 3 minutes, so I didn't want to replicate the handout that the Mayor's Office of Innovation provided, but I can provide that to you. And this is an issue that they are discussing, whether or not to process and fine the person or the company and put a lien on it. So they're looking at the processes of those 4 cities in the U.S. and those 4 counties that probably do it a little better. So I'll relay your message to them.
Thank you. Ms. Bush, I'm going to, I don't know if I've done this before. I will send you the committee template report that you can actually, your reports are very thorough and they're really good. However, our template will help you with any action items, specific action items. Therefore, it'll cut down probably on your time.
That's fine.
Reporting.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I do that for the
Yeah,
committee
the only
chairs.
action items they do is just approving the minutes. I mean, there's no,
Yeah, if there, like for instance, legislation, that's very, very important. If there's something that's coming out, some contact, some discussion about legislation, that's very important to us. And it's outlined on the report, so I'll
yeah,
send it to you.
I got that. I've served on national boards, but there were no action items.
Okay, all right, thank you. At this point, we're going to go to our committee reports, and we're going to go all the way down to, as far as the Committee on Council's report, I did receive an email in writing from Mr. Ross saying that there was no meeting today and that he does not have an associate. So there will be no meeting, no committee report at this time.
That's not true. We did have a meeting this morning.
Mr.
We
Carr,
did have a meeting this morning.
Mr. Carr,
We had action items.
Mr. Carr, let me just say this, because I knew you were not gonna like this.
We are
but let me
challenging
say
the ruling
this.
of the chair, not only this chair, but of Terry Ross as well.
You appeal the ruling of the chair.
Let me say this, because I haven't even gotten anything out yet, so you don't even know what I'm going to say.
From this
Stop
point
being
on,
rude and disrespectful.
Stop
okay?
making it up as you go.
Like I said, if you all want to make a comment about what you meant about, you can do it during public comment. Moving on.
Appeal the ruling of the chair.
Appeal the ruling of the
We're
chair.
gonna continue moving on. As we go on, let's, I'm going to remind once again, we talked about this earlier, before a lot of you all got here, and it was an update on the Executive and Finance Committee. You can see the announcements on the agenda, but I also want to make a comment about the general fund. I spoke to Ms. Pines, and she will let us know when we can start spending from the general fund. Okay? Also, all right, also, I have several updates. The first is to talk about, and this is to Mr. Daniel. Mr. Daniel, what's your last name, Daniel? Vasquez. There are several updates that planning has not gotten back to us about. One of them I'm going to take out of their court because I've spoken to Theo Pace regarding it. But if you could follow up with Ms. Pines and Mr. McKinley on name badges for the delegates and alternates, okay? And then as it relates to the parking passes and the proposed increase of the grant program, obviously the council did not approve that for this budget year. They do have it, this is per Mr. Pace, they do have our recommendation, and he is going to come, hopefully he'll be here before November to give us an update on that. Also, he has some other options as it relates to the parking pass. He mentioned that there is a particular department head that we could possibly talk to that may be able to grant some parking passes for us. So he will be giving us an update. I want to see if he will come next month for that update. Also,
Who is that person?
I cannot remember, but Mr. Pace will let us know when he comes.
About the parking pass. Is that Jalal Slade?
I don't remember. I do not remember. As it relates to last month's meeting, Council President Moore was here. I was not here, but Mr. Toomer presided over that meeting, the conflict resolution process. I've kind of given my take on it. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to express it in this meeting right now. What I will say is that at the August 5th Executive Committee meeting, Council President Moore will be attending that meeting to discuss the conflict resolution process. Also, as it relates to the Infrastructure Stakeholder Committee meeting, that resolution of that committee, that resolution passed last month, and we do know that Mr. Martin, who is the chair of our Human Resources and Community Development Committee, he's working with a council member Ide's office to reinstate not only our appointed member, but others. So we'll keep you posted on it. Also, a couple more things. How many of you all are NPU chairs Did you all receive an email on yesterday, I think it was, yesterday was Friday, an email from Ms. Pines regarding NPU best practices? It was a document, okay? All right, just wanted to make sure you all received that. And then last but not least, next month, our speaker will be Jason Estevez, who is the chair of the Atlanta School Board. He will be here as one of our guest speakers. We still are taking slots or opportunities for other speakers who'd like to come. We could have one more for next month. In September, we need speakers. And then in October, we're going to have Commissioner Keisha Powell, who is the Commissioner of Public Works, I believe? Yes. And she will be here in her office as well. The Department of Watershed Management, thank you. And I believe that is it. It seems like there's one more thing. Oh, I mentioned this earlier. This is for the delegates and alternates. Important that if you are a team lead for the post activities and tasks that we are working on for the retreat, please start meeting. I understand there have not been any meetings at all, and if we want to do this work, if we believe it's important, then we need to start meeting. This would be, I sent this email out several times, I don't know how long ago, but too long ago. The process team leads, Eric Toomer, who would not be able to serve as a team lead, but Jim Martin will be able to. So we need a volunteer to help Jim with that particular team. The Vision Stakeholder Relations team, those leads are Al Bartel and Melissa Moore. Ms. Moore has expressed to me she will not be able to serve, so we need someone to help Mr. Bartel. Logistics team lead, Michael Hopkins and Ms. Ola Reynolds. I would like to speak with you all after the meeting if possible. And then communications team, myself and Rashid Muhammad. We have attempted, however, with no success, and so we will keep on attempting until we get some work done. If it means that we can do the work via email without looking at each other, then that's fine with me, as long as the work gets done. Mr. Toomer?
Following up on one of your charges to Mr. Vasquez from planning.
Oh, yes.
The identification, or they're not just name tags, we're actually looking, or we had discussed in a meeting, there are identification badges that are official City of Atlanta identification badges, and they should have on them an expiration date of the calendar year turning, so that way they could not be used once there is a new election taking place. So, and we really need some feedback on that, either no, you're not going to do it, or yes, we can, and if it's no, why are you deciding not to do it?
That's correct. And just some background to Mr. Vasquez. This has been done in the past, so it's not something that cannot be done, because it has been done in the past for APAB. Okay. All right. This time we're going to move into public comment. Each person has, how many minutes? 3 minutes. Well, let's say 1 minute, because we have 6 minutes left before the meeting will be adjourned. Mr. Howard?
Thank you, Madam President, and greetings to you and the folks here in Committee Room 1. Special greetings to you watching your APAB delegation in action. Madam Chair,
Excuse me, Mr. Howard, when you mean APAB delegation, what exactly do you mean?
APAB delegation, is this not the APAB delegation? I'm saying to the people who are watching, I'm just saying thank you for watching.
Let's be very careful of the words that we use. We are executive officers up here, and we were voted on by the body, the delegates and alternates of APAB, and who are appointed by NPU chairs. So let's just be real careful. Thank you.
I use the word delegation.
Let's just be real careful, Mr. Howard. That's all.
Is there something wrong with that word?
Continue with your comment, please,
I
sir.
don't want to comment any further than this. I'd like to know what I did wrong when I said delegation.
Like I said, you can continue on. I said just watch your verbiage, that's all.
Well, my verbiage, on delegation, I mean, not just the executive office, I mean all of these folks that are here to vote. I
Okay.
guess that's the problem right there. I guess I will talk about that. The dog wagging the tail, if you pardon the expression, of the body, the delegation is the primary reason for being here. The officers are secondary. And I think I'll just leave it like that.
Next person?
I want to give a report on what happened at APAB's Committee on Council. Started this morning a little after 9 o'clock. We meet regularly at 9 o'clock just prior to the general membership meeting.
Point of clarification, there was no meeting because the chair of that committee did not send a message to the chair appointing somebody to conduct that meeting.
Eric, I have the floor.
As I understand it, there was no meeting, so that is an improper statement.
That's not true. There was a meeting, and you joined it for a short time, and then you left. And just
Mr.
because,
Carr, you're eating up your time, please continue
and just
speaking,
because
sir.
you leave doesn't mean that the meeting stops. Now, there was an appeal, among other things, to the ruling of the chair. We had a vote on that. The ruling of the chair, Terry Ross, he was out of order. We did have a meeting. The group, the committee, selected Ben Howard to facilitate. He did. We discussed the parking deck contract, and we discussed procedural things as far as rules that are not rules, to paraphrase Jack Runward. Now, I hope that Janelle Casanova takes a look at this tape and of this meeting and of other comments that we have made so that we can have some mediation on this. Janelle Casanova works in the council president's office, and she is charged with trying to get a hold of this organization to get some mediation. There is no appeals process. The inmates are running the asylum. And, that's a personal comment that I shouldn't have made. I'm trying to watch my words.
Anyone else with public comment? Okay,
We'd like an announcement.
okay, go ahead, Mr. Toomer, is it a comment?
No, go ahead.
Okay, Ms. Phillips, please.
Okay, for those of you who've not had an opportunity to attend yet, there is the deep dives discussion going on today at the Southeast Atlanta Branch Library from 12:30 to 3:30. And then, of course, there are 3 more after that. If you can attend one of these or all of these deep dive discussions, and of course, this is on the new zoning fixes, please try to attend. I thought it was very interesting this morning that you heard the discussion. Invest Atlanta is saying that they're putting these quote-unquote, what do you call them, containers?
Yeah.
Okay, at the Hamilton MARTA station. In my neighborhood the other day, I saw signs that someone had come around and put everywhere about containers, whether they're selling them or whatever. People, this is getting to be a critical thing. I told you last month about the ones they were trying to put into my smaller circle community as homes. You need to attend these deep dives and make your voices heard, because if you don't, you'll look up and you'll have container homes in your backyard.
Okay, it's 12 o'clock. We are out of time. However, I'd like to make a motion that we extend the meeting for 15 minutes. Can I get a second? Okay, it's been properly seconded. All in favor of extending the meeting, please raise your hands. Three. Motion fails. Okay?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. It's been properly, has it been seconded?
Second.
Okay, thank you all very much for coming. All in favor? Sorry, all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you so much. Have a great Saturday.
See you soon.